Nicholas's boots crunched against the gravel driveway as he stepped out of the taxi, his heart pounding with the thrill of being home after 3 months abroad. The San Francisco sunset painted the sky in hues of amber and violet. But something felt off. His sprawling Victorian house was too quiet, the windows dark. Then he saw it. A pale envelope taped to the front door, his daughter's familiar scrawl spelling out "Dad." He froze, the weight of the envelope heavier than the suitcase in his hand. At 35, Nicholas Harper was no stranger to life's sharp turns. A humanitarian aid worker, he'd faced war zones, floods, and heartbreak, but nothing unnerved him like the sight of that letter from Lily, his 16-year-old daughter. They'd always been close, or so he thought. Her witty texts and late-night calls about school crushes had kept him grounded through his grueling missions. But lately, her messages had grown sparse, her tone distant. He tore open the envelope, his pulse racing. "Dad, don't come inside. Go to the garage. You'll understand. Lily." The words hit like a punch. Why the garage? Why the secrecy? His mind raced with possibilities. Had something happened to her? To their home? He glanced at the house again, half expecting to see her silhouette in the window, but there was nothing. With a shaky breath, he dragged his suitcase toward the detached garage, its faded red door looming like a gate to some unknown truth. Inside, the air was stale, thick with the scent of motor oil and dust. A single bulb flickered overhead, casting jagged shadows across the concrete floor. In the center of the space sat a folding chair, a small table, and a stack of letters, dozens of them, each sealed, each marked with Lily's handwriting. A note on top read, "Read these. Stay here until you're done. The door is locked. I'm sorry, Dad." Nicholas's knees buckled. Locked. He rushed to the door, yanking the handle, but it didn't budge. Panic clawed at his chest. He pounded on the wood, shouting Lily's name, but only silence answered. His phone was dead. 3 months in remote villages had drained it, and he hadn't thought to charge it on the plane. He was trapped, alone, with nothing but his daughter's words to guide him. He sank into the chair, hands trembling as he picked up the first letter. It was dated a year ago, the paper worn as if Lily had held it too long before sealing it. "Dad, I don't know how to tell you this," it began, "but I'm scared you won't love me anymore." His heart sank. What could she possibly mean? He tore through the letter, each sentence unraveling a secret he hadn't seen coming. Lily wrote of her struggle, her fear, her truth. She was queer. She'd known since she was 13, but the weight of hiding it had crushed her spirit. She described stolen glances at a girl in her art class, the ache of pretending to be someone she wasn't, and the terror of disappointing him. Nicholas's throat tightened. He'd always told her he'd love her no matter what, hadn't he? But as he read on, guilt gnawed at him. Had his long absences, his focus on saving the world, left her feeling alone in hers? The second letter was angrier. "You're never here, Dad. You think you're a hero, but what about me?" Lily's words cut deep, exposing the cracks in their bond. She wrote of nights spent crying, wondering if he'd accept her if he knew the real her. Nicholas pressed a hand to his mouth, stifling a sob. He'd been so caught up in his work, building schools in Haiti, delivering supplies in Sudan, that he'd missed the war raging in his own home. Then came the third letter, and with it, a name, Ethan. Lily mentioned him casually at first, a new friend of her dad's, someone she'd met during one of Nicholas's rare visits home. But the tone shifted. "Dad, I saw how you looked at him. You're hiding something too, aren't you?" Nicholas's breath hitched. Ethan, the man who'd slipped into his life like a quiet storm, stirring feelings Nicholas had buried for years. Ethan Caldwell was a photographer, 32, with a disarming smile and a knack for seeing beauty in chaos. They'd met 6 months ago at a fundraiser in Oakland, their conversation sparking over shared stories of travel and loss. Nicholas had felt it then, a pull, a warmth he hadn't known since his divorce from Lily's mother. But he'd pushed it down, convinced it was impossible. He was a father, a provider, a man who didn't have time for complications. Yet Lily had noticed. She'd seen the truth he hadn't dared to face. The letters painted a picture of a daughter desperate to connect, to bridge the gap between them. Lily wrote of her hope that he'd find happiness, that he'd stop running from who he was. "I locked you in here because you need to face this, Dad," one letter read. "You taught me to be brave, but you're not being brave. Not with Ethan. Not with yourself." Nicholas's hands shook as he set the letter down. The garage felt smaller now, the walls closing in. He thought of Ethan's laugh, the way his eyes crinkled when he talked about his photography. He thought of the late-night calls they'd shared, the ones Nicholas had cut short out of fear. Fear of what it meant, fear of what Lily would think, fear of upending the life he'd built. He opened another letter, this one dated just a week ago. I love you, Dad, but I can't keep pretending for you. I'm with Mia now, and I'm happy. I want you to be happy too. Mia, the girl from art class. Nicholas's heart swelled with pride and ache. His daughter was in love, and she was brave enough to live it. Why couldn't he be? The bulb flickered again, plunging the garage into momentary darkness. Nicholas sat in the silence, clutching the letters like a lifeline. He didn't know how long he'd be trapped here, but one thing was clear. Lily had given him a gift. A chance to face himself. A chance to be the father she deserved. And maybe, just maybe, a chance to be the man he'd always been too afraid to become. The garage was colder now, the night seeping through the cracks in the walls. Nicholas rubbed his hands together, his breath visible in the dim light of the flickering bulb. The stack of letters loomed on the table, each one a mirror reflecting truths he'd spent years avoiding. He reached for the next one, his fingers hesitant, as if the paper might burn him. Lily's words had already cracked open his heart. What more could she have to say? This letter was different, less angry, more pleading. Dad, I know you're scared, it began. I see it in the way you change the subject when I ask about Ethan. I see it in the way you look at him, like you're holding your breath. Nicholas's chest tightened. He hadn't realized how transparent he'd been, how his daughter had caught every glance, every moment of hesitation. Lily wrote of a night 6 months ago, when Ethan had come over for dinner. Nicholas had laughed more that evening than he had in years, his guard down, his heart open. Lily had noticed. You were happy, Dad. Really happy. Why won't you let yourself have that? He leaned back in the chair, the metal creaking under his weight. Memories of Ethan flooded in. His easy grin, the way he'd linger at the door after their talks, as if neither wanted the night to end. Nicholas had told himself it was just friendship, nothing more. He was a father, a man with responsibilities. He couldn't afford to complicate things, not when Lily was still navigating her teenage years, not when his work demanded every ounce of his focus. But Lily's words challenged that lie. You're not protecting me by hiding who you are, she wrote. You're hurting us both. The next letter shifted to Lily's own story. She described meeting Mia, a girl with a sharp wit and a talent for painting vibrant, chaotic murals. They'd bonded over late-night study sessions, their friendship blossoming into something deeper. Lily wrote of their first kiss, stolen behind the school's art studio, and the way it had felt like the world finally made sense. But she also wrote of the fear, of whispers in the hallways, of judgmental glances from teachers, of the dread that Nicholas might not understand. I wanted to tell you, Dad, but you were always gone. And when you were here, you seemed so far away. Guilt twisted in Nicholas's gut. He'd been in Yemen during Lily's first heartbreak, in Guatemala when she'd won her art award. He'd told himself he was providing for her, giving her a stable life. But what had he missed? He pictured her alone in her room, writing these letters, pouring out her heart to a father who wasn't there. The thought was unbearable. He opened another letter, this one filled with sketches, Lily's doodles of flowers, stars, and 2 hands clasped together. This is me and Mia, she wrote. She makes me feel like I can be myself. I want that for you, Dad. I want you to stop running. The sketches were simple but vivid, each line infused with love. Nicholas traced his finger over the drawings, his eyes stinging. He hadn't known how much Lily had grown, how much she'd learned to love and fight for it. The next letter was a confession. I locked you in here because I didn't know how else to make you listen, Lily wrote. You're always moving, always helping other people, but you don't help yourself. You don't let anyone help you. Nicholas's throat burned. He thought of the nights he'd spent awake, wrestling with his feelings for Ethan, convincing himself they were wrong, impossible. He'd grown up in a small town in Ohio, where being openly gay wasn't an option. Even now, in the progressive bubble of San Francisco, he carried that weight, the fear of judgment, of failing Lily, of losing the life he'd built. But Lily's words were relentless. Ethan loves you, Dad. He told me. He didn't mean to, but I asked him, and he couldn't lie. Nicholas's heart stopped. Ethan had spoken to Lily? When? How? The letter explained. A chance conversation at a coffee shop, where Lily had cornered Ethan, asking why he and her dad never seemed to move past their endless friendship. Ethan had hesitated, then admitted he cared for Nicholas deeply, but didn't want to push him into something he wasn't ready for. Nicholas dropped the letter, his hands shaking. Ethan loved him. The words echoed in his mind, stirring a warmth he'd tried so hard to suppress. He thought of the park last month, where he and Ethan had sat on a bench, their shoulders brushing as they watched the sunset. Ethan had looked at him then, his eyes soft, and said, "You deserve to be happy, Nick." Nicholas had brushed it off, changing the subject, but the moment had lingered, heavy with possibility. He picked up another letter, this one shorter but heavier. "Dad, I'm not ashamed of who I am. I hope you're not ashamed of who you are." The words hit like a tidal wave. Shame. It was the shadow that had followed him for years, the voice that told him to stay safe, to stay hidden. But Lily wasn't hiding. She was living, loving, fighting, and she was asking him to do the same. The garage door rattled suddenly, a faint sound from outside. Nicholas shot to his feet, hope flaring. "Lily," he called, his voice hoarse. But no one answered. He sank back into the chair, the letters his only company. He had hours, maybe days, left in this prison of his daughter's making. But as he reached for the next letter, a strange calm settled over him. Maybe this was what he needed. A chance to stop running. A chance to face the truth. The bulb above Nicholas flickered again, its weak glow barely holding back the darkness. Hours had passed, or was it days? Time blurred in the confines of the garage, each letter pulling him deeper into Lily's world and his own buried truths. His stomach growled, but the ache in his chest was louder. He reached for another letter, the paper trembling in his hands. This one was dated only a month ago. "Dad, I saw you and Ethan at the park," Lily wrote. "You didn't know I was there. You looked so happy, but then you pulled away when he got too close. Why do you do that?" Nicholas's breath caught. He remembered that day, the crisp October air, the way Ethan's laughter had warmed him from the inside out. They'd been so close to something real, but Nicholas had retreated, as always, behind the wall he'd built around his heart. Lily's words grew sharper. "I'm tired of watching you hide. You taught me to be proud of who I am, but you're not proud of yourself. It hurts to see you like this." Nicholas pressed his palms to his eyes, fighting the tears. He'd spent years telling Lily to be brave, to stand tall, but he'd been a coward in his own life. He'd let fear dictate his choices, let it keep him from Ethan, from himself. The next letter shifted to Lily's own struggles. She wrote of the bullying she'd faced at school after coming out to a few friends. A group of boys had cornered her in the hallway, their words cruel and cutting. She'd stood her ground, but the fear had lingered. "Mia helped me through it," she wrote. "She's my strength, Dad. I want Ethan to be yours." Nicholas's heart ached for his daughter, for the battles she'd fought alone. He wanted to break down the garage door, find her, hold her, tell her he was proud. But he was trapped, forced to face her words instead. Another letter revealed more about Ethan. Lily described how he'd become a quiet presence in their lives, always there when Nicholas was away. He'd helped Lily with her photography homework, taught her how to frame a shot, listened when she needed to talk. "He's good for you, Dad," she wrote. "He's kind, and he sees you, the real you. Why won't you let him?" Nicholas's mind flashed to Ethan's gentle patience, the way he never pushed, never demanded more than Nicholas was ready to give. It was a kindness Nicholas didn't deserve, but one he craved. The next letter was a plea. "Dad, I locked you in here because I love you. I want you to stop running from Ethan, from me, from yourself. You can't keep living half a life." Nicholas's throat tightened. Half a life. That's what it had been. Always moving, always helping others, but never letting himself feel. He thought of his marriage to Lily's mother, a union built on duty rather than love. He'd tried to be the man he thought he should be, but it had never been enough. Not for her, not for himself. He opened another letter, this one filled with memories. Lily recounted the times they'd spent together, building kites when she was 6, watching old movies on rainy nights, laughing until their sides hurt. "I miss that dad," she wrote. "The one who wasn't afraid to be happy. I want him back." Nicholas's tears fell freely now, staining the paper. He missed that man too. Somewhere along the way, he'd lost him, buried under the weight of expectations and fear. The final letter in this stack was different, calmer, almost hopeful. Dad, I'm okay. I'm happy with Mia, and I'm learning to be proud of who I am. But I need you to be okay too. I need you to let Ethan in. Nicholas set the letter down, his hands shaking. He thought of Ethan's face, the way his eyes softened when they talked, the way his presence felt like home. He thought of Lily, brave and fierce, demanding that he face his truth. A noise outside snapped him out of his thoughts, a faint rustling, like footsteps on gravel. He stood, his heart pounding. Lily? Ethan, he called, his voice raw. But the garage remained silent, the door still locked. He sank back into the chair, exhaustion settling over him like a heavy blanket. The letters were his only companions, each one a step toward a truth he couldn't ignore. He reached for the next stack, his fingers brushing the paper. Lily had done this for him, locked him in this cold, lonely space to force him to see himself. And as much as it hurt, he was starting to understand. He wasn't just a father, a worker, a hero. He was a man, flawed and afraid, but capable of love, capable of happiness. For the first time in years, Nicholas felt a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, he could be brave enough to claim it. The garage felt like a tomb now, the air heavy with dust and the weight of Nicholas's thoughts. His eyes burned from reading, his body ached from the hard chair, but he couldn't stop. Lily's letters were a lifeline, each one pulling him closer to a truth he'd spent years denying. He reached for the next envelope, his hands steadier now, as if the act of reading was anchoring him. This letter was raw, unfiltered. Dad, I'm angry, Lily wrote. Not at you, not really. I'm angry at the world for making us hide who we are. I'm angry at you for letting it win. Nicholas's chest tightened. He could feel her frustration, her pain, in every word. She described a school assembly where a counselor had spoken vaguely about acceptance, but the whispers in the crowd had been anything but kind. She'd held Mia's hand under the table, defiant but terrified. I wanted you there, Dad, she wrote. I wanted you to tell me it was okay. Nicholas's heart broke. He'd been in Ethiopia during that assembly, coordinating aid for a village hit by drought. He'd thought he was doing good, but at what cost? Lily's words forced him to confront the truth. His absence had left her to face her battles alone. He opened another letter, this one softer. I don't want you to feel guilty, Dad. I just want you to be here. Really here. The next letter turned to Ethan again. Lily described a day when he'd helped her fix her bike in the driveway, his hands steady as he tightened the chain. They'd talked about Nicholas, how he was always running, always saving someone else. Ethan said you're scared of being happy, Lily wrote. He said he'd wait for you, but I don't think you should make him wait forever. Nicholas's throat burned. Ethan was waiting. The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. He thought back to a night 2 months ago, when he and Ethan had stayed up late in Nicholas's living room, a bottle of wine between them. Ethan had shared stories of his childhood in Atlanta, of coming out to his conservative family and the pain of their rejection. But he'd also spoken of hope, of finding a life where he could be himself. You don't have to hide, Nick, he'd said, his voice soft but firm. Nicholas had wanted to reach for him then, to close the distance, but fear had held him back. Always fear. The next letter was a turning point. Dad, I came out to the whole school last week, Lily wrote. It was scary, but I did it. Mia was with me, and so was Ethan. He drove me to school that day, told me I was braver than he'd ever been. Nicholas's eyes widened. Ethan had been there for Lily when he couldn't be. The realization hit hard. Not jealousy, but gratitude, mixed with a deep ache. He wanted to be that man, the one who showed up, the one who was brave. Lily's words grew hopeful. I think you and Ethan could be happy, Dad. I see the way he looks at you, like you're the only person in the room. I want that for you. Nicholas's heart raced. He pictured Ethan's face, the warmth in his eyes, the way his presence made everything feel possible. He opened another letter, this one filled with practical advice. When you get out of here, call him. Tell him how you feel. Don't wait, Dad. Life's too short. Nicholas laughed, a shaky sound that echoed in the empty garage. His daughter, barely 16, was giving him dating advice. But she was right. Life was too short. He thought of the years he'd spent burying his feelings, convincing himself he didn't deserve them. He thought of Ethan, patient and kind, waiting for him to catch up. The final letter in this stack was a love letter, not to Nicholas, but to Mia. Lily described their dates, their dreams, The way Mia's laugh made her feel invincible. "I'm not afraid anymore, Dad," she wrote. "I hope you won't be either." Nicholas clutched the letter, tears streaming down his face. His daughter had found her courage, her love, her truth. She was asking him to find his. A loud thud startled him. The garage door shook, and for a moment, he thought it might open. He stood, his heart pounding, but the door stayed shut. He called out, his voice hoarse, but no one answered. He sank back into the chair, exhausted but determined. There were still more letters, more truths to uncover. And with each one, he felt the walls he'd built around himself begin to crumble. He reached for the next stack, his resolve hardening. Lily had locked him in here to face himself, and he would. For her. For Ethan. For the man he wanted to be. Nicholas's hands trembled as he reached for the next letter, the cold of the garage seeping into his bones. The bulb above had finally given out, leaving him in near darkness, save for the faint moonlight slipping through a cracked window. He squinted at the paper, his eyes straining but his heart wide open. Lily's words had become a map, guiding him through the maze of his own fears. This letter was different, less about Lily, more about him. "Dad, I found your old journals," she wrote. "The ones you hid in the attic. I wasn't snooping, I swear. I was looking for Mom's old art supplies." Nicholas's breath caught. He'd forgotten about those journals, written in his 20s, when he was still grappling with who he was. Pages filled with confusion, longing, and a love he'd never dared to name. "You wrote about a boy in college," Lily continued. "You loved him, didn't you? But you never told him." Nicholas's chest ached. He hadn't thought about Caleb in years. They'd been roommates at Berkeley, two young men navigating a world that didn't always welcome them. Caleb had been fearless, openly gay, unapologetic. Nicholas had loved him quietly, from a distance, too afraid to act. When Caleb moved away after graduation, Nicholas buried those feelings, marrying Lily's mother instead, building a life that felt safe but never whole. Lily's letter pressed on. "You deserve to love someone, Dad. You deserve to be loved back." The next letter was a confession of her own fears. "I was scared to lock you in here," Lily wrote. "What if you hate me for it? But I had to try. I had to make you see." Nicholas's heart swelled. Hate her? Never. She was his world, his reason for everything. Her courage in forcing him to confront his truth was the greatest gift she could have given him. He wanted to tell her that, to hold her and promise he'd do better. Another letter brought Ethan back into focus. "Ethan's been helping me plan this," Lily admitted. "He didn't want to at first. He said it was too extreme. But I convinced him. He cares about you so much, Dad." Nicholas's mind reeled. Ethan was in on this. The thought sent a rush of warmth through him, followed by a pang of guilt. Ethan had been there for Lily, for him, even when Nicholas pushed him away. He opened another letter, this one filled with hope. "Dad, I imagine you and Ethan together, happy. I imagine us as a family. Me, Mia, you, Ethan. It's not perfect, but it's real." Nicholas's eyes stung as he pictured it. Sunday mornings with coffee and laughter, Ethan's hand in his, Lily and Mia, teasing them over breakfast. It was a life he'd never let himself dream of, but now it felt so close, so possible. The next letter was practical, almost urgent. "When you get out, call Ethan. He's waiting for you. I left a charger in the toolbox. Plug in your phone." Nicholas scrambled to the toolbox in the corner, his hands shaking as he rummaged through wrenches and screws. There it was, a charger, neatly coiled. He plugged in his phone, watching the screen flicker to life. No signal yet, but the battery icon blinked, promising connection soon. The final letter in this stack was a love letter to their family. "Dad, we're not perfect, but we're us. I want us to be honest with each other. I want us to be happy." Nicholas clutched the paper, tears falling freely. He thought of Lily's courage, her love for Mia, her determination to pull him out of his own darkness. He thought of Ethan, waiting, believing in him even when he didn't believe in himself. A soft click echoed through the garage. Nicholas froze, his heart pounding. The door. He rushed to it, yanking the handle, and this time, it gave way. The cool night air hit his face, the stars above San Francisco twinkling like a promise. He stepped outside, his phone now charged, a single bar of signal glowing. He scrolled to Ethan's name, his thumb hovering over the call button. He hesitated, fear creeping in one last time. What if Ethan had changed his mind? What if this was too much, too late? But then he thought of Lily's letters, her bravery, her love. He pressed the button, his heart in his throat. The phone rang once, twice. Then Ethan's voice came through, warm and steady. "Nick? Are you okay?" Nicholas's voice cracked. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I've been an idiot." There was a pause. Then Ethan's soft laugh, filled with relief. "You're out of the garage, then?" Nicholas laughed too, the sound raw and real. "Yeah, thanks to Lily. And you." They talked for hours, the night wrapping around them like a blanket. Nicholas told Ethan everything. His fears, his past, his hope for a future. And when Ethan said, "I'm here, Nick. I've always been here," Nicholas finally believed it. Nicholas stood in the driveway, the phone pressed to his ear, Ethan's voice anchoring him to the present. The San Francisco night was cool, the stars sharp against the sky. He'd been trapped in the garage for nearly 2 days, but it felt like a lifetime. Each letter from Lily peeling back layers of his heart, exposing the man he'd hidden for so long. "Nick, where are you right now?" Ethan asked, his tone gentle but urgent. "I'm outside," Nicholas said, his voice rough from exhaustion and emotion. "I'm free." Ethan's sigh of relief was audible. "Stay there. I'm coming over." Nicholas nodded, even though Ethan couldn't see him, and ended the call. He looked at the house, its windows still dark, and wondered where Lily was. Had she been watching? Waiting? He didn't have to wonder long. The front door creaked open, and there she was, Lily, her dark hair pulled into a messy bun, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and hope. She ran to him, throwing her arms around his waist. "Dad?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Nicholas held her tightly, tears streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry, Lily," he said. "I'm here now. I promise." They stood there, father and daughter, the weight of the letters between them. "Did you read them all?" she asked, pulling back to look at him. Nicholas nodded. "Every word. You're so brave, kid. Braver than me." Lily's eyes shimmered. "I had to make you see, Dad. I couldn't lose you to your own fears." Before he could respond, headlights swept across the driveway. Ethan's car pulled up, and he stepped out, his handsome face lit by the streetlights. Nicholas's heart skipped. Ethan approached slowly, his eyes searching Nicholas's. "You okay?" he asked. Nicholas nodded, unable to speak. Lily squeezed his hand, then stepped back, giving them space. Ethan took a step closer, his voice soft. "Lily told me what she was planning. I tried to talk her out of it, but she's stubborn." Nicholas laughed, a shaky sound. "She gets that from me." Ethan's smile was warm, disarming. "She loves you, Nick. And so do I." The words hung in the air, simple and profound. Nicholas's breath caught. He'd spent so long running from this moment. But now, with Ethan standing in front of him, he didn't want to run anymore. He reached for Ethan's hand, their fingers intertwining. "I love you too," Nicholas said, the words spilling out like a dam breaking. Ethan's eyes softened, and he pulled Nicholas into a hug, strong and sure. For the first time in years, Nicholas felt whole. Lily watched them, a smile spreading across her face. "Finally," she said, her voice teasing but warm. She stepped forward, joining the embrace, and the three of them stood there, a family forged not by blood alone, but by courage and love. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Nicholas took a leave from his aide work, determined to be present for Lily. He and Ethan started slowly, coffee dates, long walks, quiet evenings at home. Lily and Mia joined them often, the four of them building something new, something real. There were challenges, whispers from neighbors, awkward questions from colleagues, but Nicholas faced them head-on, Lily's letters a reminder of what was at stake. One evening, as they sat in the park where it all began, Ethan handed Nicholas a small photo album. Inside were pictures Lily had taken, moments of them together, laughing, living. The final page held a note from Lily. "Dad, this is us. This is home." Nicholas's eyes welled up. He looked at Ethan, at Lily and Mia sitting nearby, and felt a peace he'd never known. He'd spent years saving others, but Lily had saved him. She'd locked him in that garage to set him free, to show him that love wasn't something to fear. And as he held Ethan's hand, watching the sunset paint the sky, Nicholas knew he'd finally found his way home. The garage, once a prison, became a symbol of their journey. Lily turned it into an art studio, her murals covering the walls with color and life. Nicholas and Ethan helped. their laughter filling the space where fear once lived. And every night, as they sat together, a family bound by love, Nicholas thanked the stars for his daughter's courage and for the chance to live a life that was finally fully his.